we thank God we got to close, and they, I still have to button up that file because we're dealing with moving from Sky Slope into the Bold Trail back office. But
So what's the fine line where, because Charles works with buyers, and he comes in, he's representing them, so he's gonna beat up the seller if he needs to, right? He's gonna represent that client. If he comes into one of my houses, I gotta represent my seller, so we gotta battle it out here. But there's that fine line of talking to your buyers saying, hey, this is a 1985 house. Just because it has an older furnace and older AC doesn't mean you have to replace them both, right? But how do you do that without sounding like you're trying to sell your buyer for a commission? And then how do I tell my sellers, you should accept this objection and pony up a new furnace because it is old and they're going to be scared of this or whatever. Where do you think that line is?
I think it's just
how do you juggle that?
Well, it's all based on motivation.
Well, setting the right expectations from the beginning and
Yeah.
letting your client know what's reasonable in this market, right?
I think
Because
the market is driving it all.
yeah.
If they don't want to do all that stuff, okay, well, we've had 30 showings. Do you want to do another
And
30
they rely on
showings for
us.
another 6 months? Or do you just want to pay the 15, 20 grand now to get it fixed?
So it's education is what you're saying. It's education to them so that they can make the right decision.
Because I was going through that whole predicament with the inspection, and why were we going back and forth on why was this such a hard thing to nail down for the on this transaction? Like, I felt like it was pretty straightforward when we wrote that resolution. Most people are not even gonna we want to wait until we see the receipts to sign the resolution. You just sign the resolution and we'll get you the receipts like we said in the resolution.
But do you feel like sometimes real estate's like politics, where somebody's stuck in their ways and you can't convince them otherwise? Like, it's almost like an emotional thing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it happens in commercial, but it's an emotional thing where the agent that's representing the buyer gets emotionally involved in the client.
Yeah,
and then the seller gets, and all of a sudden there's emotions in there.
What I've seen recently, and probably in the last 6 months, is that a lot of deals are falling apart because of the agent, not because of the client. Because the agent is getting emotionally involved, and they're, instead of being objective, they're being emotional. So Scotty just had one fall apart because it was the dumbest thing, because the agent wanted them to do a $25,000 amend for the buyers, to give money to the buyers. So Scotty sent it over, and then the agent didn't sign it, or they didn't sign it or whatever, and then they wanted to go about the objection and get a bunch of things fixed or whatever, which was less than $25,000. And so the other agent just got emotionally involved in
They wanted 25 grand.
Yeah, and Scotty sent them 25 grand. So they went from getting everything they wanted to then getting half of what they wanted to then backing out because of the agent.
I'm lost. Scotty was representing the seller or buyer?
Yeah, the seller. So they had somebody come in, a buyer, and they did their inspection. They said, hey, instead of all these items that we want to get fixed, just send us an amendment for 25 grand, and then we'll just call it good. So Scotty talked to his people, and they said, okay, that's fine. So they sent them an amendment for 25K.
Okay, we'll do 25 grand.
Yeah, and then the agent, I don't know what happened, but they decided not to sign it. I think because the agent thought that they could get more, maybe. And so then they decided they're going to do an objection. And so then they did an objection, and then they were saying, oh, well, we need to do this sewer line, which is kind of like yours, which was I think it's 18 grand or something. And then they wanted a couple smaller items, which all added up to maybe 20 grand, And Sky was like, we were just going to give you 25. And now you want to do all these objection things. So then Scotty said, hey, well, instead of using your rooter guy, we're going to use our rooter guy and go see how much. And that rooter person said, okay, 8 grand or whatever to fix it. So then Sky said, okay, well, we'll give you guys 15 grand. Then the other agent got super butthurt, and she was like, well, I've been doing real estate for 30 years, blah, 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 and, was getting really emotional, was like, and then, became like a, they were just fighting the two.
Yeah,
Get
Scotty
in their
and
ego.
in ego, and I was coaching Scotty just to be objective and just say, hey, this is what we have, see if they want it, because Scotty wanted to really go after her, and I was like, no, just be kosher about it and just say, this is what it is, and let them decide what they want to do. And the other agent was just super emotional the whole time,
Yeah.
and then they ended up killing the deal. And Scotty was like, I don't understand, because we gave them everything they wanted at the beginning, 25 grand,
Yeah.
and then they.
It's hard to manage those because you're managing the other agent too, their emotions, so you're trying to keep the deal together on so many levels. And I like with that inspection objection back and forth, there's always two sides to it. Because on our end as sellers, we could have been more prepared for the inspection, right, and had made sure that the gas line was on, but really we didn't even know it was off, and until it was like kind of too late. On the flip side of that, I put myself on as a buyer's agent and say, well, if I'm a buyer's agent and I'm going to a property for an inspection, and as I walk in the door, I see this sign that says, hey, the gas line is off, I know we're not going to be able to inspect some major items, and I'm not going to let my guy do a half inspection when my client has paid for a full inspection. So we're going to reschedule the inspection itself, is what I
would tell the agent that's
right, and say, hey, the gas line is out, whatever you got to do. That could have stopped all the back and forth on the resolution because the HVAC would have been inspected on the day that inspection happened.
Well, technically.
Or ideally,
yeah.
ideally, right? Or we try to limit or be as prepared as possible. And even setting expectations for sellers, knowing that most real estate transactions in HVAC is requested to be cleaned and serviced, so hey, have we done that? Do we, can we take care of that? I think that's an important cost to just address right up front with sellers. So I think it's a mix of setting the right expectations, staying objective and staying as collaborative as possible while you're still protecting your party's interests. Because you can only go so far, right? At some point, I was going to say, like, all right, this lady is trying to fearmonger, right? That's what it seemed like to me, saying, we'll terminate. Go ahead, we'll terminate. We've been sitting on this long enough. We've already been thinking about going to property management, and for our client, his margins are so thin, it might be better that he waits for a seller's market. I didn't say this, right?
Yeah,
but,
right, yeah.
But, like, in my head, I'm thinking, you're not scaring us.
Right.
Or, you're not going to terminate. And I think that's what that was about. I think I'll tell my guy to terminate. What do you think? What are you?
Yeah, that's
So,
what happened
yeah.
with Scotty's too. Is the lady was threatening to terminate multiple times.
And it's not even the buyer who's threatening.
Right. That's the
what I'm
horrible
saying. I
thing
think
about
the
it.
agents are the ones killing it.
Yeah.
And I think
Because I had one die last night. And I was so ticked off. It's been under contract 3 times. And the agent called and they want $15,000 in concessions. Okay, we gave it to them. We need to get this thing sold. And then they came back and said we want a new furnace and a air conditioner. We want $13,500 to go towards LL Cool J.
I love them.
HVAC. Exactly, right. And so I look at the report, the inspection report. There's nothing on there that says they're bad. It's just that
What?
they're 20 years old. Okay,
Isn't that kind of a,
but they work fine.
yeah, but
If the furnace works fine and the air conditioning works fine, why do you replace them? It's like saying, I'm buying a car with
your sunglasses.
I'm buying a car with 200,000 miles on it, but I want you to replace the engine. Or, whatever. I mean.
And still want the 200,000
But
price.
wait a minute, right, you still
And
want
you pay
the-
for it.
You still want the
Build the
price.
wall, you pay for it. Sorry.
Okay, and so we basically call a company and say, would you do a warranty on this? We can pay for the next warranty for like the next 4 years or something like that to make sure they're
That's
doing
interesting.
a warranty, And so I tell the agent that, and he goes, and this is his mistake. He goes, I can't let them do that. They're first-time home buyers. Okay, now I know why they're asking
He's injecting
for-
himself.
He
into-
told them, you need to get a new furnace. We're in a buyer's market. You need to get a new furnace, a new AC. I'll get it for you. And he kept saying, Rob, let's get this to the table. Let's get this to the finish line. Let's do this, Rob. Come on. Right? He's all pushing and pushing. And it's him that was pushing. He's a good agent in town, but he ran up
Commercial
against
broker
me.
gets sued. They're getting
Right.
sued
I was
to
like,
do that.
dude,
Yeah.
what's
Can't
going
do
on?
that.
And he said, I can't let them do that. I'm not going to let them do that. Okay, wow, that's crazy. So
Are they
guess what?
related or something?
It died last night.
Honestly, a commercial broker doing that, we'd get sued. Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like he
The agent's
interjected his
killing
own
it. The agents are
opinion.
killing it.
And see, he can't back out of it now. He already told them, you don't want this house unless you get new furnace. Let me get it for you. And now that he can't get it, he was pushing so hard, and I could tell. Why is he pushing so hard? Because he wants us to close. He doesn't want to have to go back to them and eat crow.
Yeah.
He can't go
He
back and go.
over-delivered.
You should, yeah, you
Well, I
should
think
buy
it's
this house
also
now.
because agents are starving right now.
Or
There's not
overcommitted.
that many deals going on, so they're just like trying to get it, go through.
He
You know,
overcommitted and he screwed up.
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And it's crazy too because you see these pitfalls that agents are making, even with decades of experience. You know, the lady who's been doing real estate since the '90s, when she sent over the proof of funds, she sent everything. So that was what was kind of more infuriating about these buyers, because they're asking for all these things and being so, what seemingly felt like nitpicky and technical for a cash buyer who has double the amount of what he's purchased, or almost double the amount of what he's purchasing on. And I know because you showed me everything, and now you want X, Y, and Z to be fixed. And I know that my guy's margins are, really, really thin to close to break even. And your guy is over here, he's still going to be left with a couple $100,000. So he can fit, realistically, even if that water heater, their furnace HVAC did go out, he could fix it. So it was more infuriating to to see this happen, because from someone who's supposed to be experienced in the industry, protecting their client, and I'm not going to look at her and tell her what she should be doing. I'm not going to tell her how to do her job. I'm just going to take that, be objective, and use it to my advantage. And so that's why I was happy we didn't do the $3,000 in concessions, because that would have hurt Michael more. Our seller, and man, I'm really, really glad that it turned out good, and we still ended up closing. And me and the other agent, she has no idea I feel any of these things about her, or that, or no idea. In her world, she's like, man, it's a good deal. I did that, and so it's nice to know that you have to train your clients. You've got to train other agents sometimes.
Well, let's hear from the defense attorney, the buyer's agent here.
Yeah.
So I actually had interesting story about that. So do you remember when I called you about the one with the termites? It's like right down the road. That one fell out of contract, and it wasn't because of the agent. Like the agent was actually like on our side, believe it or not. So it was. So we were pretty much like at list price, the roof was like 30 something years old. Nobody knew exactly how it was. I was asking about like the permits and stuff. So the roof was like super old, needed to be replaced. The seller had went and redone all the framing in the basement on his own without a permit. And then the sewer line had some roots in it. And so we're at list price, and those were the only things that we're asking them to address. And anyway, so the sellers come back at first, and they're like, all right, we're not going to go get a permit for the basement. I did everything correctly, but here's $15,000, right? And so I let my buyers know, like, every time it's like, hey, like the roof, the furnace, the water heater, like all those things, like those are maintenance items, right? Just because it's got like a new roof and a new furnace and a new water heater and a new air conditioning, it doesn't increase the value. And anyway, if they need to be replaced, they need to be replaced. If they're working, leave it alone, right? So there were other things, like the water heater didn't have a permit, right? We didn't care about that. We were just like, hey, just get a permit for the basement. Because like if they go to sell it in 10 years, and
Wow.
they get, if they get like a buyer who's hung up on a permit for the basement, and it's a slow market, and they might have to go and redo all the framing because we don't know what the guy did.
Was it really bad framing?
I don't know. So they should have been floating walls. That's the big thing. But anyway, so the agent was like, "Yo, Dad, no, like definitely, they're working on it. They want to do everything." You know, they you know, I told them I didn't help them buy it. I told them this is all stuff they should have addressed when they got it. Anyway, and then it just flips one day because their insurance claim for the roof got denied. So anyway, so we're writing it out, and I'm like, listen, like let's play a little bit of poker, right? Because the buyers still wanted, you know, like the full 25 grand for how much everything would cost for the and they were willing to let go the basement permit. I was like, listen, the listing agent's on our side. We're at list price. It's a good deal for them. We're only really asking for two things at this point, like two major things. So we waited out until the resolution expires. And then we go back, and essentially, like they ended up just pulling it from the market completely. Like they had moved out, they weren't living there anymore. They'd already moved somewhere else. They just don't want to sell it anymore. If they had actually wanted to sell it, like we would have gotten what we wanted. But so that went wrong, and now we're under contract on another one, and there's like a half a foot belly in the sewer line, and a 47-year-old boiler. And they've already learned from this last experience, like don't push too hard necessarily. So like they're fine with the belly. Plumber says it's fine. The boiler, they were super freaking out about it, but I was like, listen, those things will last 100 years if you take care of them. Like it's an
You get a warranty every year.
I mean, it's like it's like the older cast iron boilers, and like the newer boilers that you buy, like those are only like $3 or $4 grand. But then the installation cost, because so few people do them, like yeah, it's going to cost like 20 grand. But if it's working, just repair it and like keep repairing it and keep it alive, because like that will last longer than like a newer boiler. So they're fine with that, and then we're just waiting on the roof. But like they're a lot more like. They've learned from the last one, you know, like not to push too hard, which it shouldn't have happened, because like the sellers were just like, even the listing agent was like, they're both beyond reason at this point. Like I can't reason with them. They just shut down. So we pushed a little bit too hard, and now they're just not selling. Period.
Well, so
I mean, they didn't really do a lot of. Sorry.
but as a buyer's agent, I used to always tell my people, we'd go in a basement, and I'd say, this may not be permitted, this basement. I can just tell, it looks like homeowner finish.
Yeah.
If you care about that, then this isn't the house for you. Because it is gonna sell.
Yeah.
It's gonna sell to somebody that doesn't care.
Yeah.
And so I tell my sellers that too. They're like, well, we don't have a permit for our basement, is that a problem? I go, no, we can sell it.
Yeah.
It's just, if somebody cares about it, we just say no, and if they back out, they back out, it's their fault. You know, but most of us aren't scared of when you walk in a basement and you go, oh, this looks pretty good, this is beautiful, and then they find out there's no permit. I've had some buyer's agents ask for the basement to be permitted, and because there was no permit on record, and the builder finished it when they built the house.
Yeah.
So it's in that original permit.
Yeah.
And that really ticks me off when agents don't ask that question, because they're going, oh, this is not permitted, you've got to get this basement permitted. Who's going to permit after, you know, if the builder did that, first of all, 20 years ago, there's not going to be a permit for the basement. Or let's say they bought the house without a permit. Why are they going to get a permit now if it was done 20 years ago?
So you can go back to the original builder 20 years later?
It's in the original
It's all in
permit.
the building department.
So it doesn't matter how old the house is, if it's, I don't mean 1800s, I mean, you know, like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
You can still, you go back to regional?
No, so if you pull a permit, let's say Classic Homes
Yeah. That's
builds
what
a house and finishes
Yeah.
a basement. Well, that's in the original permit,
Okay.
right? But
Yeah.
what happens is when you go to sell the house, an agent, the inspector comes in and goes, this basement was finished without a permit. No, it wasn't. It
Oh.
was finished when it was built.
So if, let's say it's an unfinished basement,
Uh,
and they have a permit to build the whole house, right?
yeah.
Can you go back to the builder and go, hey, build out, use that original permit and build out
No, they pull it separate.
another permit?
Yeah,
Okay,
you know,
I was confused about what you
if
were
it's
saying.
5 months later, after
Still
you've
have to
built
do
the
it.
house, they'll pull a new permit
permit.
because the codes could have changed.
Yeah, that's true.
But some of these houses, let's say you go in, a home that was built in 1985. And you can tell the basement looks different than the other levels. Well, somebody at some point finished that basement between 1985 and today.
So the regional might
And
not
then
have a
they
permit.
ask for it to be permitted.
Mhm.
We don't know who in the world finished that
It is.
basement, at what year, what time, what codes. We have no idea.
You have to pull the drywall off and see if the framing's
Right,
right
so
and the
that's
wiring's
why
right.
you would have to, get with the buyer's agent and say, look, this is not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No one's gonna do this. Now, I have a basement that's really bad up in Monument. It's the worst homeowner finish you've ever seen in your life. It looks horrible. Like, it's so bad. The plugs, you know how the plug is about this high off the wall, about this high from the ground, like a couple feet or whatever? Their plugs are like that high off the ground, right?
Wow.
And so
They figured kid
you can
proof.
tell everything is not to code, right? So we get some people that put in an offer. They do their inspection. They're freaking out that it didn't have a permit. And so they're like, we want you to permit it. And we're like, nope, sorry, that's not going to happen. We don't know when this was finished. And so they canceled the deal.
Mhm.
Then they go out and report us to regional building. And regional building calls and says, hey, we are the compliance officer. Looks like you have a violation on this house. We need to see the house. At first I said, do you have the right? They're like, yes, we have the right to see this house. Because we heard there's multiple violations. And I'm really pissed off at the buyer's
Who
agent.
did that? Who called?
Either the buyer or the buyer's agent.
I mean, if
It
the
might have
buyer
been the
called,
buyer's
okay,
agent.
but if the buyer's agent.
Right, but what if you cancel the deal? Why
Yeah,
in the
why?
world? What do you have to
Spite.
gain to report
Just
us?
spite.
Spite.
Yeah.
So I go and I meet the inspector out there, and she comes in, and she goes in there and she goes, "Yep, this is pretty bad, but let's go look and see if we can determine a date on this finish." So we go into the furnace room, and she looks at the back of the drywall, and it says like 1992 or something, whatever date it is. She goes, okay, that's fine. It's more than 15 years old. We don't have to worry about it. It's grandfathered in.
Really?
Thanks. Closed off, Rob.
No kidding.
You'll never hear from me again, she said.
Heck
I
yeah.
didn't know
said,
that was a
thank you,
rule."
those bastards that turned us in.
Did you
Yes.
send the broker an email?
Nope.
I would.
I didn't
just
want
for
to
the
say
hell of
anything.
it.
Yeah.
It's just because,
Yeah, I know.
and I have to look it up. I can't remember how many years it has to be. Maybe it's 11 years.
Uh-oh.
Has to be 11 years or something like that.
That 10-year, like what Jim was talking
Yeah,
about.
like 10-year type thing. So
Yeah.
you just look at the back of the drywall, and then you can tell if it's 11 years. You don't have to. There's no code violations because they can't do anything about it. But she literally said, "You'll never hear from me again if they call."
That's blown.
I have the other one that I have under contract. So like there's so the basement. So like you said, like, and it's happened sometimes where people are like, oh, the basement needs a permit, and so like you go back and look at the original building permit, and you have to like read through, and a lot of times it'll say finished basement, like 100% finished basement. So like the one that we have under contract now is built in like, I don't know, like the late 90s. And the basement's unfinished. Like somebody put up drywall at some point. But the original permit says 100% finished basement. When they sold it, it said 0% finished basement on the MLS, and then it's always said 0% finished, right? So it's like, well, somebody at some point, like in PPRD's mind, it's mainly just electrical and framing. Because like you can do drywall, you can do like carpet, and like they don't care. But a load-bearing wall, non-load bearing wall right underneath the support isn't floating, and it should be floating like past the 80s. So anyway, so I told my buyers like, hey, it's not the end of the world, right? Because it's a 30-year-old house, and like those walls are like, so it's
already settled.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah.
like if this were like 2 years old and they did this,
Right,
then I'd be
yeah,
like, yeah, make it into a floating
Right,
wall,
yeah.
right? But like pay attention because it could still happen. And so you've got like the wall, and then you've got the steel support cylinder, and it's like, well, even if this was floating and you had like heaving or whatever, and it goes up underneath there, it's still going to push up, right? So like they know the risks, they know At some point, like if they want to go and get it finished correctly and get a permit, they're going to have to convert that into a floating wall. But anyway, the seller was just like, all right, here's $5,000 for that, like, and then we moved forward. And then like there's always the risk of like, let's say like they go to sell 10 years from now and it's like a, I don't know, like a 2010 market or whatever, where your house is on the market for 2 years and you get that one nitpicky buyer. Like that's really, you know, like one of two risks. Is one, it's not built up the code, like with the floating walls, and something happens and it affects the rest of the structure. Or two, if you're selling in like a super slow market and you get that one buyer after like a year or two who's like, I have to have a permit, like you're gonna have to fix it. But
Yeah.
they were fine with that.
I mean, for
so.
permits or anything like that, I only ask or bring it up if it comes up through title or the lender. You know, like, hey, they're asking that we address this. You know, that's the only time I'll ever mention, you know, hey, this.
Except an inspector mentions it. That's the part that scares people. So you have to be quick to point out, look, you guys, you know, I mean, I pulled a permit on my basement and they kept making me change, and I finally just ripped it up, threw it in the trash. So I finished my basement and there's never closed out a permit because it was just, I was just getting so sick and tired of the changes they kept
The
making me
rules.
make.
It's not
yeah.
even just the changes, it's like you have to incrementally have it inspected along the way as you're
Right.
constructing it. So my husband, like, he built out a whole bedroom in our
Yeah.
upstairs, and his dad was an electrician for 45 years.
Mhm.
So and my husband's an engineer, so he would call his dad and go, hey, I want to wire this, and what do I do, and if this is blah blah blah, and they're talking it through, and I probably trust his work more than I do most electricians' work, you know, probably. Oh, I know, he had an inspector come by like the last time, but he'd already drywalled everything, and he goes, you're gonna have to rip out this drywall so I can look at the wiring. He goes, oh, okay, well, I'll do that, I'll call you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like,
Right.
nope, I'm not doing that, you know?
Well, it's you get the electrical inspection,
Yeah,
passes. You get the plumbing inspection, it passes. You finish the basement, you get the final inspection, and the
doesn't
electrical
pass?
and the plumbing doesn't pass.
How's that? How did they do that?
Because, like, for me, it was, you have the wire boxes and everything when they come in and pass the electrical, and then we drywall, it, let's say a closet. We drywall, there's a light in the closet, and I put up a shelf, and they go, oh, that light is 1 foot from the shelf. It should be 1.5 feet from the shelf. You need to move it over.
The light or the shelf?
Right, the light.
Why can't you just take a shelf
Well,
off?
the shelf you can't move. It's up against the wall, but it sticks out. You see, like a coat hanging.
I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
you hang up the wire shelf, and they're like, what if you put a pillow up there, and the light is
Too hot.
is too hot,
Heats
and it
up the
starts.
pillow.
Okay, I get that, but
We have asbestos pillows.
the
I'm just
codes
kidding.
keep changing where it used to be fine, and now it needs to be 1.5 feet instead of 1 foot, or
So wait a minute, they don't grandfather it in from when the work was done?
Well, maybe they didn't know I was going to put the shelf up
Oh, okay,
when they
okay.
did the first thing, and then I put the shelf up. Now they're saying it doesn't pass.
Gotcha.
Then the plumber comes in, and he comes in to check, and he's like, "Oh, the sink, the J trap has to be a deeper, has to be another 2 inches down lower than
Oh my God.
than the higher trap, whatever." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you guys are getting ridiculous.
They are ridiculous.
This is getting so ridiculous." So that's when I ripped it up and threw it in the trash.
I sold the county. I used to represent the county, El Paso County, and we sold them that emergency response building off of Mark Dabbling.
Mhm, mhm.
And this is to El Paso County, okay? You'd think
Yeah,
they'd
yeah.
have some, don't mess with us.
Right.
And regional came in and they just went crazy, and they made them redo all this stuff in the parking lot and put in certain landscaping and tear out other things and curb cuts and parking striping and all
Right,
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And El Paso County, and this is for the sheriff, okay?
Mm.
And El Paso County went, oh yeah, we'll get right on that. And they never did any of that. And so, how much are you going to mess? Regional building. How much are they going to mess with the sheriff? You know what I mean? Like how
Right,
much? then it turned out Makita had some issues, so he's gone. But
Yeah,
but
Makita.
yeah, they were telling me it was going to cost like just hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what they wanted them to do. It was seemed very arbitrary, you know.
Right.
And so I was just looking around, going, "What? Why didn't they talk about this before? You know, why didn't they have this issue when it was under contract? You know,
Right.
the inspector should have known what the codes were.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's ridiculous.
And it could be something as simple, because this happened to me, where I had a property that was 2 years old. So, you know, it's a brand new house, you know, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And the water heater went bad. So, I mean, that was a defective water heater.
Mm-hmm.
It's under warranty. So I call them, they send out a new water heater. The plumber comes out, and I still have to pay for the installation.
Right.
I get the free water heater and paid for
It's
installation.
expensive. Yeah.
He pulls the permit. The permit people said, "Oh, yeah, the vent that goes
Yeah,
over the water
yeah.
heater changed from like inch to inch and a half."
Yeah.
So now you got to redo the whole
You gotta
pipe
retrofit the
through
whole-
the
yeah.
roof up to the roof up there.
The
Everything.
penetration. Yeah, the vent.
And that's going to cost you a couple grand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? You have got to be kidding me. That really makes me mad.
Sure.
That the code changed when it's only 2 years old through a warranty, and I feel like they need to, I don't know.
And like that code's not grandfathered in.
Why is that not grandfathered in? I'm replacing the water heater. I'm just replacing the water heater. Why do I have to change out the whole ventilation system on that?
Didn't they used to, when you had to have something inspected, they would send the inspector out, and it really didn't cost anything, but now it costs money.
I don't
to-
know.
Yeah, I
For
just,
PPRD?
yeah, regional.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's like if you're getting like a retroactive permit on something, it's like 25 or 50 bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not that bad.
yeah, but I think it used to be free, and now it's not. You know, so
I don't know. Well, when you pull the permit,
the long.
you pay for the permit. It used to be free for the
Yeah,
inspections.
yeah.
Now you're paying for the permit and the inspections, I guess.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you're paying for it separately. I don't know. Because when I pulled a permit, I would just call them and they would come and inspect. I didn't have to pay extra. So you're saying it costs extra now for them to come to inspect?
I don't think it does.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so either.
Oh, I
It
would-
shouldn't, because it's PPRD.
There's so many new people there. There's so many new people all the time. And it used to be like you had a lot of experience that they drew upon, and
Yeah.
you could kind of trust it.
Yeah.
And now you can't, and it depends on which inspector you get what day. I mean, at least with commercial, it's from those guys. I'm like, no, this isn't right, because this is how it was before, and now you're saying it's this, and they're like, well, and then they either amend it or they just dig in,
Yeah.
so it's really tough sometimes to get consistency. There really should be consistency with what they're doing, but anyway, I really want to commend you on maintaining your objectivity in the face of being,
Oh.
slammed or whatever. That's
Well,
a tough thing to do with other brokers.
And it was challenging because, Rob was in London, the seller's over in Japan. I've got
yeah.
Karen here, her name was Julie, but I got her.
Yeah.
Karen.
And then I got the buyer was here. And I'm it's fun to be busy. I think it's good to be busy, but when I'm doing that real estate and working, like trying to manage a full-time job at that same time, it's a different kind of weight.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
Because you're young.
No, and just staying up all hours of the night emailing people. I just started sending emails and text messages as soon as I could because things started happening so fast that I couldn't wait on, is it going to be rude to send this in the middle of the night? No, just send it, because I'm dealing with too many different
You're
time
talking about
zones.
emails or texts?
Both.
Yeah, I don't text people no.
I was like, look.
Well, hey, I was over there, and
I just
it's
schedule
8 hours.
schedule it for
Yeah,
8
yeah.
a.m. the next morning.
Yeah,
know,
it's a
It
good
was
idea.
8 hours ahead over there. So
Yeah. It was a lot to juggle.
so what time is it?
He
But-
has an iPhone. So.
But we got it done.
Yeah.
I could do that too, and I
Yeah,
did.
you can.
But it was a lot to juggle, but it was really fun. And from both of those transactions, I walked away better, stronger, and feeling like
That's right.
again, just feeling like I'm in the right place and I'm doing the right things.
That's really
You
a
know?
great attitude because
Yeah.
really it can wear on you a lot. You know, like Scott referred Judd to me and the broker on the other side. We've been friends for like 35 years or so, and then the last 5 years, something happened, but he won't tell me what it is. He's just saying, you're terrible or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, okay. You've known me for 35 years. What happened? Well, if you're not willing to talk to me, then I don't know what to say. And so he had that same mentality on that side, and he said, "This is crazy." So Jed called me because he was bothering Scott about this retail thing, and so we had a conversation, and I said, "Yeah, I don't really like this letter of intent. I don't know if you guys do letters of intent. Do you
No,
don't do
no
those?
letters now.
So basically, it's not legally binding, but it's a good faith representation of what both parties are willing to do
Right, sure.
until you get that actual lease document. It just kind of cuts through the BS.
Right.
You know?
Oh, I love letters of intent.
Yeah, and so not legally binding, but everybody has to put their best face forward,
Yep.
and which was not the case at all in Judd's case, and I'm like, nah, man, there's play here. He goes, well, Steve said there was no negotiation capable, and I go, well, that's nice, but that's not how the business works. So let me help you. If you want me to, I will. And I sent him a red line, and he calls me after a week and a half, and he goes, you never got it. I'm like, I had to call my managing broker and go, can you please send it to him? And he won't ignore you. He was really ignoring me, which is insane. I mean, that's so unprofessional, and just, you can't do that. It's not representing anybody. And so he called me, he goes, I never got any of that stuff. You didn't get my phone messages, my text messages, my emails. You got nothing. Well, I don't know what happened. Yeah, okay, so
That's the agent.
the agent.
Wow.
Yeah, and so he's representing a Meridian Ranch, so like a retail center, and he said, so Jed sent him an email saying, hey, I don't really feel like I'm being represented, because he wasn't at all in any way, and transaction broker or not, you have to do the right thing, and if you're asked questions, you can't say, there is no latitude here. If you know better, I mean, you do know better, like, there is no
Wait, Jed
Maybe-
emailed the
broker on the other side.
and said I'm not being represented.
I don't feel like I'm being represented. I don't think you're representing me at all. Like
Whoa, hold on.
Was it
you
a
thought you
transaction
were
brokerage?
representing him.
not yet. Not yeah. I mean, just about. We hadn't signed the the.
Oh, so
representation.
Jed was doing something with someone else?
No, he was.
He went straight to the
He went
seller.
straight to the
the-
seller's agent.
Uh-huh.
It's really the landlord.
And then they were doing a transaction.
Transaction. He said it was a transaction, but really it was very obvious that the landlord's agent was representing the landlord's interest.
Right.
It was just
Yeah.
really obvious to me.
So that's why he said I'm going to use someone else.
Yeah, and then so Steve calls me and he goes, it's obviously you've been talking crap about me, and that's why. I go, wait a minute. You're telling me that I somehow found these people knowing that you were on the other side of this deal and talked crap about you. And that's how it worked out. And I go, you've got this narrative built up and you're building a case against me that's irrational. And I said, if you want to run with that, fine, that's not how it worked out. He didn't feel he was being treated properly, and he reached out, and that's why I have this involvement. It's nothing to do with anything I said to these people I didn't know before a week ago. I mean, it's ridiculous, so their egos are involved.
Yeah, all the
and
time.
He goes, the deal's already been struck, Susan. And I said, no, it hasn't. I go,
He
did they
thought
say?
it already was struck with
He
Jed?
Yeah, he's telling me as if it's fact, and I've been in the business almost as long as he has. So
Huh.
he thinks somehow that I will be fooled by that misrepresentation, that misstatement, and it's like I said, first of all, you know better than that. I go, did they sign a lease last night without me knowing it? I mean, there's nothing that's in writing other than a representation that's not
That letter of
acceptable.
An
Yeah,
LOI.
and he goes, I said, I sent him this red line, and I said, here's what the terms are that we want. Knowing we weren't going to get it all out of him, but they did change the deal points, and he's paying a lot less, so
That's good.
So what is he renting? A piece of,
He's renting a retail space in Meridian Ranch,
and
so
what's he gonna do?
He's gonna put like a game
he's
thing,
gonna
right?
play like games like
Like Dungeons and Dragons. like-
Pokemon tournaments and things
Oh,
like
you gotta
that.
be kidding me.
Uh-uh.
That's not gonna last. How many years? 5 years?
Wow.
That's the minimum they'll do.
How
That's
much per month?
$25 a foot plus $11.55 for operating expenses. So 25 plus 11.55.
3,000 a month, maybe?
29-ish. Well, that's the base
Wow.
rent plus
Was
another
there triple
11.
nets?
Yeah, that's the 11.55. So we're talking like
Are you gonna
30,
go play Dungeons and Dragons over there?
25
Chess?
That's 36.55 per square foot on 17. What is it?
Okay, let's take a vote on how fast he'll be bankrupt.
Well, here's the good news.
I don't know.
Here's the good news because I said, I mean, it's not my call. I'm not the one.
No,
They're
you're just
going to
finding
afford
space.
regardless. You know, they're just going to do it.
Wow.
No, well,
And-
I do know they're both veterans, 100% disabled. So they're making like
So-
$8K a month just on disability.
But I don't
the
know.
Colorado, yeah, but we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of commitment that they're personally guaranteeing.
Yes.
So,
Right.
and I said, how is this working out? Because, you know, how is your financing? What does that look like? And he goes, they're doing SBA, which is, you guys don't have SBA, do you?
Mhm.
yeah,
You do?
yeah.
Oh, cool. So you only have like 10% down and all that stuff. Blended rates are lower than normal would be. Okay. So
Phew.
they have SBA plus Colorado Opportunity or Colorado Employment something or other. I've never even heard of it, but it's for veterans, and their entire loan that they're getting is at 4%. And I'm like, huh? That's
Wow.
crazy. And I'm like, he goes, and we have to put up our house as collateral.
Oh my
However, even if we default, they will not take our house. We can still have our house, but they'll take the equity to that point in our house.
Oh my gosh,
Wow.
that's terrible.
Well, they got a lot of equity in their house.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but, I
know,
mean-
but how much do you pay to play Dungeons and Dragons or Pokemon?
Or are they gonna offer anything
I
else?
don't
Like,
know.
are they gonna have like coffee, tea there that people can bring? Because like I feel like if it's like a
Right.
little place where you offer
I don't-
additional
that's a
stuff,
good
and, like,
point.
have games that they can buy,
I don't
people can
know.
come in.
I don't think so.
I've seen something like that in Denver before, and it seemed pretty busy and lucrative. But you have to be able to have something else of substance that is gonna.
I mean, we're
Well,
talking
there's a-
Falcon.
This is
Yeah,
Meridian
there's a
Ranch,
game
you
store
said?
right
Falcon
over there.
in Falcon.
In Meridian Ranch.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, well, there's a game store right over here by the Arby's.
But that's
It's been
Colorado.
there for a
That's
long
Colorado
time.
Springs.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to
Meridian
roll, guys.
Ranch.
The
Oh yeah,
difference.
time to wrap
But
up.
I mean,
It's American.
I don't know what the demand is for that. I
But-
only know
Oh,
if it's
I
one
see.
place
Still.
right here.
Downtown,
Maybe.
I think
Paying
you know, would be
35%
great.
up until the end
Charles
of the year,
plays
so
Pokemon
keep that in
every
your head.
weekend.
Okay.
I'll be happy
Right?
to-
I got probably come back around and
It sounds
after I
so
get to
ridiculous.
someone else.
Pokemon.
Well, I
from
think
the
he's gonna
last
do.
30 days.
Don't worry about it.
He's
All I
also
need is
gonna have chess.
Yeah, stuff like that. I think
Yeah,
would be
But I
very.
told my job,
Yeah.
like,
Well,
because
I
was
think
ready
the
to
only
quit.
thing I could see in that
I
is
put in my two.
I like to
my
play
notes.
games, and I
have
might
to
not
manage
have people
managers.
that want to play with
You
me.
know, when you're
So I can go
overall,
down
like,
and maybe
position,
there's
you
some
have to
people
manage
that
it,
can play.
and you're
And
teaching
then
think
them.
something
they pay
like that.
20
Like if you're
bucks to
playing
play,
Risk
you
or
can pay
something and you want to
$10
have
for
a
food.
Risk
But I think
tournament,
he'll need like
I was about ready.
coffee
You can-
shop or some sort of
Right.
food there to.
Right.
to
So you might be
Man.
like,
Right.
you talk to them when you go bowling, right?
I would
You go
make
bowling,
popcorn
you're
and I would
$50
make all
a night.
kinds of
trying to
cool
not shoot
treats.
myself.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's what I think.
Ice
is really
cream.
cool.
Alright, well, when I went to Jed's
like
house,
treated
he
like
has
punishment.
4 or
Because you're
5
not guaranteed the
3D
next month,
printers,
right, I mean, I
all
get it.
going like
Some-
printing those
some-
dragons
Yeah,
and
some
Yes.
different.
You
like,
gotta-
Oh
you gotta
my
learn how to-
goodness,
Yeah.
you hear
So I'm
that?
sure he's
He's
taking all
into
that
it,
over there.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really
doctor.
into it.
Listen, you can charge people.
And I
Hey,
got
you
2
want a
weeks
3D print?
vacation
You know,
that I
here.
can take, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna take
Charge
that
per
and just-
size.
Yeah, he sits there and
Yeah.
he prints them all too.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah,
got all
sounds
these
great.
painted
Yeah.
figures.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
He's
Just
like,
wanted to
hey, I
remind
know
you, 'cause I
nobody
wanna
will
help.
marry
I
you,
really
so I
do
can
wanna
3D
help.
Yeah,
print
no,
your
the kids,
wife
and there will be
for
a
you.
lot where opportunities to help because they're-
Since you're a gamer.
The website that I'm building will have a commercial space as
Oh
well.
my gosh.
Oh, that's
You know,
interesting.
I don't know what the
you know,
demand
happy
is,
to
but maybe
help
there's a big
anybody.
demand.
I just
I
need
don't
time.
know.
That's
You know, hopefully they-
interesting.
I would feel like
Hopefully
they've
those
looked
2
into
weeks
that.
will be able to
Hopefully
help
to
me
see
at
the
least get
demand.
some
Maybe they
space.
know
You
group-
could-
big
She
group of
closed
people.
on that already?
No.
He closed on it?
No, we're actually, so here's the other, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh,
You got-
no, you're good. I'm heading out.
Okay, see you later.
I'll button up those files probably later, but as soon as possible so everyone can
No
get paid.
problem.
Well, she's having the same issue as you with that, the creating the contact.
Yeah.
So I'll fix it on her side, and then
Oh,
I'll
man.
do
Yeah,
the
it's
same
like
thing on her
everybody's
side.
got to be a person.
Yeah.
And
I was like, man, it's not working. I spent
and
like
it's
so much
like-
time and I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
forget it.
horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, don't talk to me about it. Oh, talk to Scott.
Yeah, technology.
I told
did
him I
so.
like Sky Slope.
Hey, I was feeling like, man, maybe I should print out a file and get some hole punchers out, go to
Well,
paper.
this one's a lot easier once you
So-
understand it.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, so
kidding.
we don't understand it.
No,
Yeah.
it's new.
Scott, you said this is going to be really easy for that.
Well, it is, but they give me a whole list of probably 25 settings for each user,
Oh,
and there's
gosh.
no explanation of exactly what they do. So when I first did, I told everybody, hey, there might be some things I need to
Glitches.
change on the settings. I don't really know because we have no transactions coming in yet, and I don't know what any of these
Right,
settings
I'm thinking
are.
it was just
So
me the whole time. I'm like, what am I doing
so
wrong?
when you run into it, let me know so I can fix it, and then maybe in 6 months, okay, everything will be streamlined and be good. You know.
Okay.
So just to finish up this thing, I just gotta touch.
Yeah.
Steve, the landlord's broker, said, okay, so Jed goes, I need to get contractors out there. You know, I need to get people out there and have bids, and the SBA and his other entity requires it, and they need hard numbers. So you can have a percentage, a few percent, you know, like latitude, because until you get in there and start doing the construction, you might not know the exact number, you know, but they need the CAD files and then the measurements from the architect, which have been done. Those are done, and the broker goes, you can't have those until after you sign the lease. And I go, we are at an impasse because we're not going to reinvent the wheel. You have those drawings that are done by Yao, which is a famous, you know, good, everybody knows them for a commercial architect, and you have those. You can give those to us so we can have our contractors have to have a minimum of 3 bids. And if you're holding that back and now we have to get drawings and pay 10 grand for those, that's cheap, by the way. Just $10,000 minimum to have those architectural plans drawn up. Then weeks will go by. You want us to sign the lease today, and you're not willing to make that happen. So here are the constraints. What are you going to do? You're going to make us pay 10 grand? You're going to wait another month? I mean, what's happening here? And so he's like, well, I don't know. You know, so he goes, he tells Jed he's not willing to drive out there to open the space for the contractors to make a bid. How do you, what? That's his job.
Wow.
And I said, Steve, I'll pick up the keys. You know, if you're willing, if you can't make it, I don't go if you're being an idiot. I just, if you have other things to do. And Steve goes, how about 8 a.m. on Friday? And I go, perfect. I'm in the pool at 5:15. It's not a problem for me. I can do this.
Yeah.
So I ask our military friends, you think 8 a.m. is going to scare them to not go over there? You know? So, and Hammers Construction says they can do it, you know? So construction people, they get up early. Steve's the one that's trying to cut his own nose off, and I'm like, yeah, let's do 8 a.m. We're there. So he's thinking he's punishing everybody, but he's not, you know? So I'm like, that is so crazy.
I wonder
So
what his deal is, man.
yeah, so I'm really, those guys are great. They're really nice. I've talked to them. We had a conference call yesterday and everything. So I really like them, you know, so I'm happy to help. And when Steve goes, I should make them pay your commission. I put together all their financing. And I told Jed that. He goes, he didn't do anything. What are you talking about? I go, you know, so.
He just got wind of their finance. How much do you make?
Yeah, sure. You
Right,
know,
yeah.
as a commercial broker, you guys have a different situation because you have to kind of assess people's financial wherewithal.
Yeah.
I don't want to see your information. I send for some reason I do occasionally because they go, yeah, take a look at this, Susan. Is this going to work? I'm like, I don't want to see it because then I'm
So
kind
in
of
other words, you
responsible.
shut up and sell because somebody says, I'm starting a business, I just need a space. And you go, okay. You don't sit there and go, how much do you make? How much do you want to spend? Blah, blah, blah.
I say, have you
Like
talked
we
to
do.
a lender? Do you have pre-approval? Are you going to be able to manage I go, this is a hefty lease right here. It's expensive. Yeah, we know, Susan. You know, we know. I'm like, it's not up to me to say, hey, that business is a little bit misguided or what, because I don't know, honestly.
Right, yeah.
I mean, who am I supposed to?
A Pokemon, what?
I love Pokemon. You leave my Pokemon out of it. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't play Pokemon. But they were going to have like tournaments and all this kind of stuff. And I mean, it's all great, but I mean, Falcon?
Yeah.
Falcon? Honestly? I mean,
I know.
but
A
it is.
poker room would do better, probably.
They might do that.
They might do that because that's a game.
Right.
You know, that's
Yeah.
they could easily do.
Yeah, you can pay a cover, I guess,
But
to get in.
but anyway, I mean, the point is, the reason I'm commending Daniel, it's very difficult for me also, and I'm pretty dispassionate about, you know, I try not to involve myself in that emotional part of it, but it's the other brokers that are